Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 24 playthrough of the Buffalo Wings. We are about to begin spring training 2038. We've got only 45 players or 44 players in camp right now, so not a ton of competition. We're going to go as we usually do in spring training with a six-man rotation. Feel like Barajas, Shazier, Mendoza, Estrada, and Ochoa are all pretty locked in to their positions as our first through fifth starters, but going to take a look at Eric Barbarito, who is one of the top prospects in our system. Number 42 prospect in baseball, first round pick back in 2033 for us. Split last year between AA Utica and AAA Albany, where he combined to go 14-8. He definitely is in competition to make the major league team this year. We'll see what he does in spring training. A few new additions to the team. Joe Scott, the closer, the young closer that we traded for from San Diego in a trade that I know some of you are not fans of. Gave away a few major league quality players plus a good pitching prospect. So may have overpaid a little bit for a closer, but I still like the fact that we've got someone with outstanding stuff to potentially take over as our closer. Walborn, Jimenez, Veliz, and Varejo are all back and familiar names, so no surprises there. And then we've got a lot of competition for the last few spots in our rotation. Mike Waters is a guy who's been up and down the past few years. He's out of options, so he probably will make the team. David Espinoza is a lefty youngster who's come up through our system who will be competing with Inahiro Miyake to be the third lefty out of the pen behind Walborn and Veliz. There's certainly a chance that we keep both of them. Lazaro Savonarola was a Rule 5 acquisition we made, traded for Juan Reynoso a year ago. So there should be some competition for the last few spots on our pitching staff. As far as our everyday players, the big battle, and kind of the only battle we have heading into camp, is who's going to end up being our backup catcher to Andres Medina. Right now, we're giving Ted Jackson a chance to play somewhat regularly in the spring against left-handed pitching, but David Aldretti, Jorge Berrios, and Luis Lemus are all also in the mix to potentially be the backup to Medina. Frank Carranza is competing for a roster spot at this point. Got some familiar names with Jace Barofin, who we had in AAA last year, theoretically competing for a roster spot, but think it's unlikely he'll make the team. And then Josh Vehar, who you may remember, we picked in the 6th round several years ago at this point. He was a guy looking for an insane amount of money, so he slipped to the 6th round. We happened to have money that year. He's 24 years old now. He's only made it to high A ball. He did combine for 20 home runs and hit over 300 last year in A ball and high A ball. So we're going to take a look at him in camp this year. He'll likely begin the year in Double A. Looks like a bat that could be borderline useful as a major leaguer, but he doesn't have a ton of speed. He's a pretty average defensive outfielder. Certainly seems like a guy who may help us a little bit as a 4th or 5th outfielder in the coming years, but don't view him as a big-time prospect anymore. And as we get ready for this season, the 2038 season, we've got 10 consecutive trips to the playoffs, so the goal is going to be to make an 11th consecutive trip to the playoffs. Hopefully win a 7th consecutive NL East title, which would be a pretty nice run to go on. But most importantly, the goal is really to get back to the World Series and hopefully win a 3rd World Series in 5 years with these Buffalo Wings. With some of the departures we've had over the last couple of years, we're definitely not going to be favorites to get a title, but still think we should absolutely be in the mix for certainly the playoffs, and hopefully even competing for the best record in baseball, even though I don't think our team will, on the field, be quite as dominant as it has been in some previous seasons. And when all was said and done, it was a very uneventful spring training for our Buffalo Wings. 17-10 record, so we played well. Not that that's the most important thing. The most important thing for us coming out of spring was that nobody on the roster was banged up, and fortunately, we're in a situation where everybody is healthy. We just tied our final spring training game 0-0 against the Expos. We've got 3 days now till the regular season starts, so it's time to figure out who's going to be coming north with us and who's going to make the 26-man roster. Don't think there's going to be any real interesting battles. One thing that I am considering in the back of my mind is perhaps going north with 12 pitchers and 14 position players. We'll see when I get to the point where I need to make a decision on those final few roster positions, whether or not I follow that path or go with the more traditional, for me, 13 pitchers and 13 position players. And we're getting down to some of the final decisions as far as our pitchers. Again, the couple moves I'm going to talk right now will just take us to 13. There's still a chance that we may go to 12. We are going to send Eric Barbarito down to AAA. He doesn't necessarily have a ton to prove at this point, but his stuff can still get a little better if he works on that fastball a little bit more. Basically, we're getting into a situation with this Buffalo team where we're a little pressed as far as salary. Came down to whether we want Isidro Ochoa or Barbarito to be our fifth starter. And we're going to go with Ochoa just as the more proven veteran for the time being. He also did have a good spring for us. But the way I'm kind of thinking about this is Ochoa's making $2.7 million this year, going to be in line for about $6.5 million as our fifth starter next year. So with Barajas, Shazier, and Estrada all signed for next season, Mendoza only with a year in the majors, still making the major league minimum. I think as we start thinking for the 2039 season, perhaps we trade Ochoa in the offseason and replace him with Barbarito as our fifth starter next year. Clearly, if Ochoa is not effective, Barbarito is going to be waiting in AAA for us. But at the very least right now, since we will be in a challenging financial situation for a few years to come, we'll hold off a little bit on Barbarito's clock starting to tick. We're also going to send down another youngster, David Espinoza. He was not all that effective in AAA last year, but he did do a decent job in a small sample size with us. Came down to Espinoza or Inahiro Miyake, who we had traded for at the beginning of the offseason from Colorado. Given that we're spending $2.7 million a year on Miyake, going to give him an opportunity to see what he can do outside of the unfriendly confines of pitching in Colorado. He was not good during the spring, and Espinoza was excellent, so I can't say that it's necessarily the most informed by statistics decision that I've ever made, but Miyake's stuff is still a tad better than Espinoza's, although if I'm going to use that argument, I have to acknowledge that Barbarito's stuff was a tad better than Ochoa's, so not necessarily intending that these decisions are all perfectly 100% logical. Talking about guys who are going to be at the back end of our rotation, the third lefty out of the rotation, and right now just want to see what we have with Miyake, because we could look to deal him. Although it looks like he's going to actually be he can't be a free agent. He doesn't have enough service time, so it's probably just going to be a repeating contract. We do have Colorado, I had forgotten, keeping 60% of that contract, which certainly makes that more palatable for us. That said, we're still going to send Espinoza down to AAA Albany. That gives us 13 pitchers right now, but as I've talked about recently, there is a chance we'll cut that number to 12 depending on how the decisions look around our everyday players, which I'm going to start working on right now. And as we get ready to start paring 25 position players down to 13 or 14 position players, although I guess Juan Estrada is counted, so it would be 14 or 15, including Estrada, since he's a two-way guy. First decision we need to make is what to do with backup catcher, and I'll stop the suspense as far as who's going to be backing up Medina. We are going to go with Ted Jackson. 27-year-old, has come up through our system, 9th round pick in 2028. Is not great defensively, but he has the best bat of any of the guys who are in the mix, good personality traits, and view him as kind of a caretaker backup for this season, because I anticipate that Jorge Barrios, who we're going to be sending down to AAA Albany, will be the backup a year from now, but going to try to give Barrios another full season of everyday playing in AAA Albany this year, to just hopefully help him with the last bit of development that we think is coming his way potentially. So we also had David Aldretti in camp, a Rule 5 pick out of Cleveland. Love his defense, but this is a guy who's never been above high A ball and just doesn't look like a major league hitter. So we are going to release him back to the Indians, or the Guardians more accurately, here in 2023. And then Luis Lemus, who we had signed to a minor league contract with a major league option. Just don't think he's a major league hitter at this point. He's hit 201, 219, and a .188 the last 3 years as a starter in the majors. Really like his defense. Wouldn't mind if we stash him in AAA in case we have some injuries, but he will have the option after 30 days to opt out of that contract. So we're going to go with Medina, backed up by Jackson. Definitely not the greatest defense in the world. As I said, this is really kind of a one-year thing, I think, for Jackson, since we're expecting that Barrios will be our backup catcher a year from now, but we want to get Barrios playing time every day this year at the age of 23, which he'll be getting down in AAA Albany. If we have some injuries, certainly would think about perhaps adjusting things a bit. The thought is we still, even with Jackson playing 30, 35 games with unspectacular defense behind the plate, this should still be a playoff team. And if we get into the playoffs with all the off days that we have there, Medina will be playing for us every day in the playoffs, as he usually does. And we've decided we are going to go with 13 pitchers and 13 position players. So what that means is that Tegan Tiley, our first-round draft pick from 2031, is going to get sent down to Albany. Still feel like he, at least according to our scout, has a little bit of improvement that he can make, even though he is already 25 years old. And rather than being a bench player up in the major leagues, we do still have one option year left with him. So just going to send him down to Albany, where he can hopefully play every day, and will likely be one of the first guys that will be called up, particularly if we have injuries in our infield. And we've actually called an audible on our 26-man roster. Tegan Tiley is back. What we ended up doing was sending down Frank Carranza, the left-handed hitting first baseman, who was up the final month with us last season and played pretty well. That said, he only had 28 games in AAA Albany and only 35 games in AA Utica before he came up at the end of last year. We think he's pretty much fully developed. The issue is just that Carranza is going to basically only be in the lineup against right-handed pitching, and the only realistic way to get him into the lineup against right-handed hitting was to bench Joe Gallagher, the youngster who hit 37 home runs and 109 ribbies for us last year as a rookie. And I wasn't willing to do that. And then bringing Tiley back up, actually able to at least play Tiley every day against left-handed pitching. So I guess that's not really every day, but he'll at least start against left-handed pitching. So at this point, the only guy who's a pure bench player for us is Ted Jackson. Looking at our lineup against right-handed pitchers, Seifu moves to third base this year. He's going to be leading off against both lefties and righties. Juan Estrada back in the second hole, playing left field this year instead of right field when he's not pitching. Mike Heiner at first base. The addition, Mike Broaden, when I picked him up, I said I was hoping he would be a 6 or 7 type hitter for us. He's actually going to be our cleanup hitter against right-handed pitching. Joe Gallagher, who we just talked about in the number 5 hole, playing DH. Steve Anderson back at shortstop. Tim Gaglia back in center. The new addition, the left-handed hitting Jim Arp, will play second base instead of Seifu, give us a little bit of an upgrade there defensively. And then Andres Medina at catcher. Against left-handed pitching, obviously leading off still with Seifu. The youngster Ben Elmquist will play in left. Joe Edwards going to be in a position this year where he's not starting every day for us, only playing against left-handed pitching regularly. He's going to be in right field. Gallagher at DH. Medina hitting number 5 against left-handed pitching and catching. Tegan Tiley, the rookie, at first. Tim Hull at second. Steve Anderson is now going to be a full-time shortstop. He had been platooning with Hull the last couple of years, but feel that with Anderson at second, Hull or Arp at second, Anderson at short, Hull or Arp at second, and Seifu at third. We've got a stronger infield defense than we've had in several seasons. And then Tim Gaglia, who will be the everyday center fielder this year, is going to be hitting 9th. So question how many runs we're going to score. The thing that makes me feel still positive about the season is that I don't have a lot of questions about the number of runs that we're going to allow, and I think it's going to be a relatively low number with the pitching staff that we have, with Mendoza, Shazier, Barajas, and Estrada as our top 4, and Ochoa back in as our number 5 starter. Scott is the closer, Walborn is a stopper, Jimenez, Veliz, and Varejo will mix and match those 3 as setup guys. Miyake and Waters are a lefty and righty middle reliever, and then Juan Reynoso will be a long reliever when we need one. And as we talked about, we've got some decent young guys in AAA right now in terms of both Barbarito and potentially Espinoza. If we do need to make some moves to bolster our pitching staff, we may not even have to use the trade market to do that. And we've made it now to opening day, and we've got some money to spend with a little bit of money that we picked up in some trades and then moving Bolig and some other contracts off the books this past off season. And we've got scouting and player development as high as they've ever been with us. So opportunity to invest in our team this year, which is probably important given that our minor league system has slipped to 22nd overall, and only Eric Barbarito and Guadalupe Amezcua rank among the top 100 prospects in baseball. Juan Palomo, who we just picked up, is an international free agent, is viewed as the 4th best prospect in our system. And then Luis Nava, who we got back in that trade for Bolig, is viewed as our 3rd best prospect, even though he was not a blue chip prospect when we picked him up. So not the deepest minor league system at this point. Taking a look at the preseason predictions, and over in the American League, the Yankees and the Twins expected to win their divisions. Here in the National League, we've got high expectations again. We're expected to go 104-58 through that simulation, which would easily be the best record in baseball. Looking at the league leaders, not supposed to have any of the top hitters through that simulation, but Alexis Mendoza and Sincere Shazier are third and second starters, both expected to have pretty solid years, at least in the one simulation that led to the predictions for this 2038 season. And we are going to be home here on opening day. We'll play through as has become our custom in this playthrough. We will play on opening day against Philadelphia. So the 2037 World Series champions who finished 10 games behind us in the division, but then took us out in the NLDS. We'll be visiting Buffalo here on April 5th for some cold weather on opening day. So interesting matchup here with the Phillies. Pits the last two World Series champions here in Buffalo on opening day. And you can tell that the Phillies are a pretty good team because normally when we look at these previews, they've tended to favor the Wings in many, if not all, of the positions. But the Phillies have an excellent offense. They battered their way to a World Series championship last season. We've got our ace Alexis Barajas on the mound, but we're going to need every bit of Barajas against this tough Philadelphia lineup. And they have got Zaire Jackson, a 28-year-old right-handed pitcher, was 16-11 last year with a 4.21 ERA. So he will be on the mound against our Buffalo Wings here on opening day of this 2038 season. And we'll start things off. Barajas going against Andres Lezama. Hopefully we can get a nice performance from Barajas to start the season off for us. And I did just adjust the volume down. Those of you who have commented on that before have taught me well. And a leadoff single for Lezama to get the game started. So not a good start for us. He's got some speed. We'll go ahead and throw over, see if Lezama's got any plans to move on. And we will go ahead and pitch to Gabe Walton here. Runner's going, and he is safe in at second with his first steal of the year. So they've got a quick runner into scoring position, and we just had a walk from Barajas to put runners on first and second with no out, so not a great start to the season for us. Yoshi Kubota, their center fielder, who had a big year for them last year, the number 3 hitter up, full count to Kubota, and he flies out to left. Looks like the runner's going to be able to tag from second, so Lezama takes advantage of his speed. Runners on the corners with 1 out against Luis Ortega, last year's National League MVP, their cleanup hitter. And we got the runner going to second. That was not even close. Interesting decision. I guess they were trying to get the runner into scoring position, but with a batter like Ortega, who's had 39 and 36 home runs the last couple seasons, he can definitely get into one. Don't know that you needed that runner on second base. And he flies out to right to end the inning. So turns out that aggressiveness on the base paths by the Phillies may have worked in our favor. Moving to the bottom of the first, Deshaun Seifu going to be leading off against Zaire Jackson. 1-2 count to Seifu, and he strikes out. Juan Estrada also strikes out, so Zaire Jackson is dealing here in the first inning. Mike Heiner now up, and Heiner grounds it out to short, 6-3. 1-2-3 inning for Buffalo. So heading to the top of the second, Barajas now against Jake Spring. And Spring grounds it over to second base. Was going to say Seifu, but it's no longer Seifu at second. It's the new addition, Jim Arp. Seifu has pivoted over to third base. Eric Mossberger, the number 6 hitter, their second baseman, lines a single up the middle. going after Deshaun Henne now in this deep Philadelphia lineup. 2-1 count to Henne. And another single, at least a single. Looks like that may end up being a double, actually. Yep, runners on second and third now with only one out. So the Philly lineup has put some pressure on us. The DH number 8 hitter, Jerry Miller, up. Runners on second and third, 0-1 count to Miller. And he flies out to center, but the runners will tag, so that will get the first run of the day across the plate for the Phillies. Runner on third now with 2 outs. Barajas going against the 9-hitter, Armando Cruz. Hopefully we'll get out of this right here. Cruz grounds it to short. 6-3 to end the inning. So 1 run on a couple of hits for the Phillies. They've got a 1-0 lead as we head to the bottom of the second. Mike Brawden, who we picked up this past off season when we made a big trade to trade away both Arturo Flores and Tyreek Hardage, and Brawden flies out to center field in his first at-bat with the team. The second-year player, Joe Gallagher, number 5 hitter, now up. Gallagher goes down swinging for the second out of the inning. And shortstop Steve Anderson, number 6 hitter, up now against Zaire Jackson. And Steve Anderson pokes a single out there for the first hit of the day for our Buffalo Wings. Center fielder Tim Gaglia now up. And Gaglia grounds out to third to second for the force out. So 1-0 lead for the Phillies heading to the top of the third. Top of the order back up with Lezama. And Lezama gives that one a ride to left field, but Estrada makes the play for the first out. Gabe Walton, the number 2 hitter, now up, and he grounds it out 4-3. And now Kubota, the number 3 hitter, up, and he goes down swinging. So finally a 1-2-3 inning for Barajas. Head to the top of the third, Philly's still up, or the bottom of the third, Philly's still up 1-0. Jim Arp, new second baseman, making his first plate appearance as a member of the Buffalo Wings, and he pops out to left. Andres Medina, recently signed to that lucrative extension, goes down looking. And now back to the top of the order with Deshaun Seifu in 2 outs. And Seifu drops a single into right field. And they say not to make the third out of the inning on the base paths, but we've got Deshaun Seifu, so we're going to go ahead and run here even with 2 outs. Try to get the runner into scoring position, and Seifu steals it standing up. First steal of the season. Juan Estrada now hopefully an opportunity to come up with a big hit here with a 1-0 count. And Estrada does. He drives a double to right field, so back-to-back runners on base here for the Buffalo Wings, and a run-scoring double for Mr. Estrada ties things up. Seifu with his first run scored of the year. Mike Heiner now up, a 2-1 count to Heiner, and Heiner deposits that one into left center field. 2-run home run for Mike Heiner. And our Buffalo Wings, after not generating much offense at all those first couple innings, are putting some runs up here in the bottom of the third. 3-1 lead now, and Mike Brawden now up. 2-2 count to Brawden, and Brawden is plunked. Oh, and it's going to be a fight. He goes out and charges the mound, and the umpire has ejected both Brawden as well as the Philadelphia pitcher. So that's one way to get into their bullpen early, I suppose. So Brawden, our right fielder, is out. And what we will do is bring in Mr. Joe Edwards. We've talked about wanting to get him some playing time this year, given that his number in arbitration is going to be really big next year. As I talked about earlier, he is only right now in the starting lineup against left-handed pitching. but he does have a lot of versatility to play a lot of different positions. So although he's not a particularly adept right fielder, we will put him out there for the time being. So Edwards on at first base, Juan Carvajal, a right-handed pitcher, up, and Joe Gallagher, 1-2 count to Gallagher. And Gallagher gives that one a ride, but it'll fly out to center field to end the inning. So 3 runs on 3 hits, and Buffalo takes a 3-1 lead into the 4th inning. Barajas now against the always dangerous Ortega, 0-2 count to Ortega, and he strikes out, but the ball gets by Medina, but Medina makes the play, so the strikeout still counts. I guess the strikeout would have counted anyways, but he would have been on base. Barajas now going after the number 5 hitter, Jake Spring, grounds it to third and cannot make the play. 3-1. Barajas can't handle the throw. Error on Barajas. So Jake Spring now on base. Eric Mossbarger up, and he strikes out. 2 outs now going after Deshaun Henney. And Henney gives that one a ride to center field. That will be a stand-up double for Henney, and the runner trying to score, and he does. So the Phillies have gotten a run back. Jerry Miller, the DH, now up with a runner on second and 2 outs, and a grounder down to third. So the error comes back to haunt us. Philly closes the deficit to 3-2 as we head to the bottom of the 4th. Shortstop Steve Anderson, full count as he's leading off here in the bottom of the 4th, and he draws a walk. Tim Gaglia up now, the center fielder, and he drops a single into right field. So runners on first and second, nobody out, and Jim Arp, RBI opportunity for the newcomer. He goes down swinging, unfortunately. And now the catcher, Andres Medina, full count to Funky Cold, and he drives that one into the right center field bleachers. A 3-run home run for the catcher, Andres Medina, to give our Buffalo Wings a 6-2 lead. So we've been hitting the home runs today against this high-powered Phillies offense. The lead now 6-2. They've moved to the left-handed reliever, Danny Markle. So Deshaun Seifu, 3rd at-bat of the day already for Mr. Seifu, and he grounds out to short. And now Juan Estrada is up. We are actually going to... we'll let Estrada play. He doesn't normally bat against left-handed pitching with an 0-2 count coming. Oh, and he was plunked. So the second batter hit by us. I was going to say with an 0-2 count, he was probably headed for a strikeout, and he was going to demonstrate why we don't often play him against left-handed pitching. But he ends up getting on base, 2 outs, and Mike Heiner, who homered last time up, goes down looking. So a 6-2 lead for Buffalo heading into the 5th. Barajas still on the mound, facing 9-1-2. Hopefully he can get a good start against the number 9 hitter, Cruz. Instead, Cruz drove that one right up the middle. So the number 9 hitter starts off with a single, not the way that you want to approach this powerful Phillies offense. We'll go after Lizama here. And a perfect double play ball, 6-4-3 to get the runner erased. And now hopefully can get out of the inning here with a 1-2 count on Gabe Walton. And Walton singles. So a lot of hits today for the Phillies. But fortunately, they haven't generated a ton of runs yet. But with the 3 and 4 hitters, 3 coming up and 4 potentially coming up, still a dangerous spot for Barajas against Yoshi Kubota. And he strikes him out to get out of the inning. So 4.5 in the books here. The Wings still up 6-2. Joe Edwards now going against Danny Markle here. 0-2 count to Edwards. And Edwards strikes out his first at-bat of the season. Joe Gallagher now up. 3-1 count to Gallagher. And Gallagher draws the walk, so another base runner. Steve Anderson up now. We'll let the shortstop swing away. And Anderson with a single. So runners on first and second with 1 out now. Tim Gaglia, the center fielder, coming to the plate. And he pops that one out to short. Infield fly rule called. And Jim Arp is now up. Given that we've still got the lefty Markle in, we are going to make one substitution here. And we are going to pinch hit with Tegan Tiley and let the youngster get his first major league at-bat here. Oops. Start messing up everything. I don't know that we'll actually keep Tiley in at second. Actually, we will pivot Seifu to second and have Tiley go to third for us. But we'll go for the righty on lefty matchup here and give Tiley his first at-bat so he's not waiting around. He grounds it out to short, and that will end the inning. So 5 in the books, Wings still up 6-2. Luis Ortega, the cleanup hitter, now up, and a couple of lefties in a row. 75 pitches from Barajas. He hasn't been excellent today. Given that it's the first game of the year, we are going to be pretty conservative with him, and we are going to go to the left-handed pitcher, Juan Veliz, after just 5 innings. Normally, I'd love to get another inning out of Barajas, but he's allowed 6 hits. He's walked some batters, been in and out of trouble often with these 2 dangerous lefties coming up. Think that we'll try to get the lefty-on-lefty matchups in our favor here in the top of the 6th. So Veliz going after Luis Ortega, and he struck out Ortega for the first out of the inning, and now Jake Spring also up. And he strikes out Jake Spring as well. Now going after the right-handed pitcher, Eric Mossbarger, with 2 outs, 1-2 count to Mossbarger. And it looks like he will fly out to right field. So 3 up, 3 down for the Phillies. And seems like perhaps pulling Barajas a bit earlier was probably the right decision. The lefty Markle still on the mound for the Phillies. Andres Medina is up with a 1-1 count. Medina with the 3-run homer in his last at-bat grounds out to short this time. Seifu leading off, or not leading off, but Seifu batting for the 4th time here. And he grounds it down to third. Another ground out for Buffalo this inning. And now Juan Estrada is up. And we will actually make another substitution here, try to get as many people playing as possible today. So we're going to bring in the youngster Ben Elmquist, get a right-handed hitter in, and get Estrada out of the lineup since he'll be pitching in a few days. Elmquist against Markle here in the 6th, and he strikes out. So a couple of 1-2-3 innings for both of the pitchers here in the 6th. Head to the 7th, still 6-2 Buffalo. Veliz threw only 12 pitches. We got a switch hitter and a lefty up right now, so we're going to see if we can get another couple batters with Juan Veliz going after Deshaun Henney here. And Henney grounds it out to short, 6-3. Now going after the left-handed DH, Jerry Miller, and Miller flies out to center field to Gaglia for the 2nd out of the inning. And the number 8 hitter, Armando Cruz, is up. It only took 3 pitches for Veliz to record those first 2 outs, so we'll still let him face the righty. 1-0 count to Armando Cruz, and he grounds it to second base. Seifu over there at second now. So another 3 up, 3 down inning for Belize. Head to the 7th inning stretch. Buffalo 6, Philadelphia 2. Markle, the lefty reliever, still on the mound for the Phillies. Mike Heiner leading off here in the bottom of the 7th. And Heiner with a single to left field. Joe Edwards up with a runner on first. 1-0 count to Mr. Edwards. 5-4. They can't turn the pivot though, so just got the forced runner. No relay over to first. Looks like Heiner was injured, but not serious, fortunately. Gallagher now up now with a runner on first in the form of Edwards. And he goes down swinging. Steve Anderson now up. 1-0 count to the shortstop. And Anderson grounds out 4-3 to end the inning. So head to the 8th. Hasn't been a lot of scoring these last 3 innings. Hasn't been any scoring these last 3 innings. 6-2 Buffalo as the Wings are 6 outs away. And after 2 really nice innings from Belize, we will make another call to the bullpen. And we are going to go for Yohane Varejo, the right-hander here. Bring him on with the righties. Lazama, Walton, and Kubota due up. Varejo is pretty tough on right-handers. So Varejo going after Lazama here to start off the 8th. Grounds out to third, 5-3. Gabe Walton up with 1 out. Another grounder to third. 5-3 once again. 2 outs. Tegan Tiley getting some action at the hot corner. And now Yoichi Kubota, full count to the slugger. And he draws a 2-out walk. So the dangerous Ortega is up here in the top of the 8th. We will let Varejo go after him. And he struck him out, but that pitch got away from Medina. Second time that's happened today, but second time Medina was able to track it down and make the throw over to first. So we head to the bottom of the 8th, still 6-2 Buffalo. Markle's still on the mound. He's done a good job eating some innings for the Phillies today. Gaglia leading off for our Buffalo Wings. Flies out to left for the first out of the inning. Tegan Tiley getting another at-bat here. And Tiley singles past Mossbarger at second base. So Tegan Tiley with the first hit of his major league career here. Andres Medina now up. And Medina grounds out 6-4-3 to finish the inning. Hopefully that'll be it for Buffalo at the plate, and we can get the final 3 outs here in the 9th before we need to bat. Varejo still on the mound through 15 pitches. We're going to see if we can have Varejo just get out of this inning. It's not a save opportunity. We've got a 4-run lead. If he gets into some trouble, maybe we'll make a call to the bullpen, but if he keeps getting outs, we'll keep letting him pitch. 0-1 count to Jake Spring. Grounds it to first, and don't know if that was going to be an error or if that's a hit. Looks like they're calling it a double. Looked like it was a play that possibly could have been made, but a leadoff double for Jake Spring. Eric Mossbarger here with a runner on second. 2-2 count to Mossbarger. Grounds it to short. Shortstop looks the runner back, so 1 away. The runner still on second. Deshaun Henney now up. 3-0 count to Henney, and he draws a walk. Positively, that does give us a force at first, second, or third. But we will make another call to the bullpen here. And we are going to bring in the stopper, Lauren Walborn, here with the lefty coming up. Hoping to not have to use the stopper or the closer, but also want to ensure that we get a victory on opening day. So Walborn, they pinch hit for the DH with Josh Lash. 1-1 count grounder to third, 5-4-3. Lauren Walborn comes in and cleans things up well. And our Buffalo Wings 6-2 victors over Philadelphia here on opening day of the 2038 season. So the matchup of the last two world champions, we got a little bit of revenge on Philadelphia for taking us out in the playoffs last year. Got a couple of hits from Heiner, including the 2-run homer, and then Medina with the 3-run homer for his lone hit of the day. Anderson also hit 2 hits, and as we talked about, the rookie Tegan Tiley picked up the first hit of his major league career. Barajas got the W, scattered 6 hits and a walk over 5 innings pitched. Only 1 earned run, given that one of those was the result of the error on him. Veliz was excellent. Varejo was okay. And Walborn, of course, came on through 3 pitches and got the double play ball to earn the save. So nice start to this 2038 season for the Buffalo Wings. Broughton going to be suspended 2 games. Looks like Zaire Jackson will be suspended for 6, so his second start of the year will be delayed. But a nice 2038 opening day for the Buffalo Wings, and we are in first place here on April 5th. Hopefully we'll run wire to wire this year and be first place in National League East the entire season. That would be a relatively low-stress way for this season to go down. And we will find out how the first couple months of this season go in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.